You write in the book that when you married for the first time, the first of 3 marriages, that you, on your wedding day, you had a heavy heart, and you had a heavy heart every time you got married.
I did. Well, first of all, you see, if it were a different time, I probably would have lived with these men. But, you know, you didn't live with anybody. And I went from my parents' home to my first marriage. I was 23. That was considered very old. All my friends were married. And I didn't want to be married. And it was the wrong kind of marriage. But I'm also not sure that I'm very good at this balancing act of marriage and career and children. I can and do give the reasons why they didn't work. There was no, fortunately, there was no animosity. There was also no money involved. That makes life easier.
Well, that's one of the great parts of the book. Your marriage, your first marriage had broken up. You were not working on the air in television. You did not have a high-paying job. You went home at night for dinner. You had bologna and a roll.
I did, and I missed the bologna and the roll. You know, it's too fattening today, but I remember that. I lived in what was called a frozen rent-controlled apartment. There was a supermarket across the street, and I would buy the sliced bologna and the big roll and make instant coffee. Hey, you know, and then from living in that apartment, I eventually got a job as a writer on the Today Show.
So
and then, you see, then I could afford to buy regular bologna. I didn't have to buy the sliced supermarket bologna. Life has these little pleasures.
Living the good life when you can upgrade the bologna.
You can upgrade the bologna.
Started as a writer at the Today Show, then started doing a little on-air work, and then became the Today Girl?
No, the Today Reporter.
The Today Reporter?
Please, because before me there had been 15 Today Girls.
They were the glamour pussies.
They were the glamour. When I came in, I sort of wasn't the Today Girl, and I had been doing reports, so I continued to be the Today Reporter. And they thought they gave me a contract for 13 weeks. I stayed on for 13 years. And they gave me the contract originally while they were looking for someone else, a star, because I worked cheap.
When you left Today, you went to ABC to co-anchor the evening news with Harry Reasoner. Yes. Great hoopla over being the first woman to co-anchor a network evening newscast. Your pay, $500,000 from the news division, $500,000 from entertainment. Didn't work out. Harry said that he thinks that you and he wrote in his memoir that he thought that you and he were the least of each other's problems. As I read your memoir, it sounds like it was not quite that Harry was one of your biggest problems.
Well, Harry eventually did his autobiography, which you read, and I did the interview with him then. I was working on 2020. So that it wasn't personal. Harry had been doing the show alone at ABC. He did not want a partner.
I have a new colleague to welcome. Barbara?
Thank you, Harry. Well, tonight has finally come for me, and I'm very pleased to be with you, Harry, and with ABC News. And I had left NBC, where I'd been very happy and successful, to take this jump, and I was a flop. I was done. I was killed in the press. My career was over.
It was around that time that Gilda Radner began doing her impression of you, which was very famous, but which really stung, although you, I thought, handled it with grace. Tell me that story.
Well, at the time that I was this great failure, Saturday Night Live was on, and Gilda Radner did this impersonation of me called Baba Wawa.
Hello, this is Baba Wawa here to say farewell. Moment on NBC. I want to remind you to look for me along with Harry Reasoner weeknights at 7 o'clock.
And I really didn't like it. I was hurt. With everything else, I had to be Baba Wawa. And it was my daughter, my little daughter, who said, "Mommy, lighten up. Where's your sense of humor?" So I thought, okay, if everybody's laughing, I should too. And when I finally did meet Gilda, and she did her impersonation of me, turns out we had the same makeup person at NBC who taught her how I sat and what I did. And she died much too young of ovarian cancer. And I wrote to Gene Wilder after her death and said, she made me laugh. I will miss her. And I signed it Baba Wawa. And there are still people today I will hear say, there's Baba Wawa. And you know what? I don't like it. But I laugh.
True story. I was riding up an elevator 2 days ago, and I had your book in my hand. And a guy in the other corner of the elevator looked at me, looked at the book, and whispered, "Ba ba wah wah."
Yeah, well, you know, look at how many years ago that was. So I have to smile at it. You know, it's, I guess if imitation is a great form of flattery, then boy, am I ever flattered, right?